We're back with another episode of the Voices for Voices TV show podcast. I am your host, founder, and executive director of Voices for Voices, Justin Allen Hayes. Thank you for joining us. You can find us everywhere. You can find us on video. You can find us at Yahoo. You can find us at Rumble, all audio platforms, free of charge. And if you're in the Northeast Ohio area, Western Reserve area to be specific, and you have Spectrum, you can find us on Hudson Community Television. So we have rounded episode 175 on our way to hit 300 for this year as a total. So we're excited. We did, if we reflect on January, we did 16 episodes in 30 days, which is incredible. Besides our studio episodes, we continuously were bringing you and will continue to bring additional episodes, additional content to you. We're glad to be with you, and thank you for sharing your time with us. You can check out our merch shop. The link will be in the description, and if you're able to, you can make a one-time donation. You can support us as we continue as a nonprofit organization. We can't do what we're doing without you. So thank you for everyone, every organization, big, small, in the middle, individual. It's really a pleasure to be able to do this. So we were talking about music, and when I was closing up the one prior episode that we were shooting, and we were testing out a new camera, and the camera stopped at, I think, 23 minutes and 20 seconds, somewhere around there, just out of nowhere. So totally didn't expect that. So we're gonna continue that conversation because I wasn't finished, and I have more content to add to it. We're talking about music, talking about the influence that Phil Collins' Behind the Music episode had on me. For whatever reason, the music, just instruments, the singing just clicked with me. My dad went with me to the first concert. Phil Collins came to Cleveland, did an arena tour. What's now the Rocket Mortgage Field House in Cleveland was it was Gund Arena at the time. So we went to the show, had an amazing time, and that was part of the start of the impact of music outside of kind of the church music, being at mass. So the second part of how that Phil Collins Behind the Music Unplugged episode that profoundly impacted and still impacts me to this day is up until that point, I knew what a guitar was. I knew guitars cost money, and I had an interest in playing the guitar. And in a short period of time after that show that Phil Collins was on, the concert I went to for I believe it's my 16th birthday, I got one of the gifts was a guitar. and I started to take lessons. So I knew nothing about guitars. One of the interesting things about me is I write with my left hand. I throw a baseball, throw a ball with my left hand. But I golf right-handed, and the understanding was that playing a right-handed instrument would be a little bit easier than left. Not to mention, since there's on average less left-handed guitarists, it's a supply-demand thing. So the fewer there are, the more they can charge, and so they charge more for a left-handed instrument than a right hand. So I had a right-handed guitar, so I was playing right-handed, and I still to this day. That's how I play. And so I started taking lessons once a week. I can't remember if it was for 3 months or 6 months, and I had the absolute best teacher, because looking back, I think we connected on a different level. Instead of taking a guitar manual book out and going, page by page, what we really did was, he said, Justin, and his name was Tim Tucker, and he has unfortunately passed on quite a few years ago. He got quite ill, and I was really heartbroken to hear that he had passed, because one of his passions was obviously playing the guitar. He was in a couple bands, and that was something he loved to do. And seeing how, I'm not in any official bands, just playing the guitar, no matter how easy a song is, but I think the song is, if I think it's easy, it kind of frees my mind a little bit, and so I know it did that for Tim. And he was Gattuso's was the name of the shop that he worked at, and he loved teaching. So how we connected, instead of taking a book, right, and trying to teach notes, which even to this day, it's hard for me to read music in the traditional sense, as far as, you see all the lines, and that I do better with what they call guitar tablature. So it basically tells you what finger goes where on the fretboard and which string it goes on, and how you strum. If you strum down, if you strum up, if you palm mute, and all those types of things. So instead of doing that, and again, I was brand new to playing any instrument. I think I played the recorder in music class and in grade school. But outside of that, that was for being in that class. The guitar was something that I got to choose. I got to select. And so he would say, Justin, what songs do you want to learn? And he wasn't going to teach me all the songs, because all the parts of the songs. Let me rephrase that. Because songs, there's many different parts, and some are more difficult than others. Some have solos, and so he wanted to do is he wanted me to pick the songs, and it was incredible. I remember going in, and one of the first songs was I said I wanted to learn a Nirvana song, and then I think he asked, like, which one, and I don't know how he settled on which song it was. But here he was, and he didn't have the guitar tablature. He was going off of memory, and he was teaching me the beginning parts of the Nirvana song. And I remember it's "Come As You Are," and it's still to this day I don't know the whole song, but if you hand me a guitar, I can play the first few notes, and that goes all the way back to when I was 16 years old, with my very first guitar and having guitar lessons. And that was probably like the coolest thing. Was Tim knew how to connect with his students, and he probably figured, if I sit here and try to teach this whole manual, this whole book, it might get kind of boring, and it might turn my students off to playing. But if I can teach them, some riffs, some parts of songs that they like and they want to learn to play. And so that's what I mean when we connect it, because that's kind of how my mind worked. Was, and still to this day, looking at sheet music is very hard for me to read. I quite frankly can't read it, and I still in the same way. I'll find the guitar tablature of songs, and I'll find sometimes the easiest songs, but music's music to me. Whether you're playing an incredibly hard solo, like in November Rain with Guns N' Roses, or just strumming three chords over and over and over again for a song. To me, music is music, and it makes me feel accomplished. And I think that's what we really get to. It makes me feel accomplished when I'm able to, at the end of playing just a few minutes, because with being a husband, a dad, with Voices for Voices, I don't have as much time to play, and so I have to really maximize the time when I'm playing or practicing. Like there has to be like a specific reason why I am playing, practicing. For example, a couple years ago, you saw our A Brand New Day event, and you saw me one way or another on a scissor lift, 15 to closer to 20 feet above the ground. Which, number one, I'm afraid of heights. Number two, I don't play a ton of guitar. Number three, I sing even less. But I wanted to do it, and so I did it. Was it, A-list, A+ quality? No, but I don't care. That part didn't matter. The part that mattered was I conquered some of my fears, and by me conquering some of my fears and being a part of Voices for Voices and knowing how we are reaching, you hear me talk about 50 countries, over 520 cities now across the world, that people are tuning in, they're listening, they're watching, they want to see, they want to hear the guests, the content. And I think big. And so when I went to the organizer and said, hey, I want to I want to play 3 songs on a scissor lift, like 20 feet above the air, above the floor. And first thing I got asked was like, do you have a scissor lift? I was like, no. How are you going to do it? I'm like, I don't know. I'm going to figure it out. And that's one thing music did for me. It, again, helped me conquer fear of heights, a fear of playing in front of people, afraid of uh, singing, uh, just not knowing if I was going to be able to do it, and there were equipment malfunctions, as there always are. I was looking at the lyrics, and the iPad stopped scrolling, and so you just got to go with it. And so while I conquered some of my fears at that time, the secondary goal was, and still is, and that performance is still out on our YouTube page. Got to go back quite a ways because we got a lot of content for you. But to be able to inspire somebody who may be just like me, may not be just like me, they may see that, and that might be the Phil Collins behind the music episode that I had that touched me musically, to go to my first concert, to want to play the guitar. And I was in a band for a short period of time in high school. And then now trying to incorporate playing the guitar any way I can. Recently, here with the Heart for Music organization, anytime I have a chance to join their performances, it comes back to that inspiration. It does something for me because it allows me to have my creative juices flowing, but then it also can touch a person in the heart and say, you know what, he's doing it. He's no professional, and I'm not. I'm doing it, and that's kind of where, when Voices for Voices got started, and still to this day, we're just doing it. That's what's going on. We're doing it. We're doing episodes. We're doing shows. We're meeting people next door. We're meeting people, famous celebrities. We're meeting people in recovery, out of recovery, who have been incarcerated, who are giving back, judges. I mean, we're we're talking to everybody, and we want to share everybody's story. And so when you hear me talk about wanting to help 3 billion people, that's where it kind of comes from. Is me having the idea of, I want to play guitar, sing close to 20 feet above the ground. And I did it. And that's one of those things that nobody, like a lot of things in life, that nobody can take that away from me. Nobody can take that away from you or the other individuals who saw it, listened to it, who were inspired to just, maybe it's not a guitar, maybe it's a drum set, maybe it's wanting to learn the ins and outs of singing, and maybe start by joining a church choir. I don't know what those specific things are, but what I do know is the things that we're doing as an organization. We're touching people at all different levels, not just here, but again across the world, because we are connected as humans in so many ways, and music is one of those ways that we're connected. And so Phil Collins had a profound impact, and so much to the walk-in song at my wife and I's wedding reception. Even though I was just nervous, kind of the mental health thing hadn't been worked out quite yet for me. But we had Phil Collins in the air tonight as that song, and I wasn't able to explain. I liked how the drums went and kind of kicked things off in the song, and I now I'm able to reflect on that, and again that behind the music episode, the guitar, going to the concert with Dad, uh, that that's how over a course of many years, how something which may seem so small, right? We're flipping the channels. You might not watch the whole show, might not listen to the whole concert, watch the whole concert. But again, we don't always know what it is, when it's going to happen, what our purpose is here. And I've had one heck of a uh, last couple of months. This holidays, missing Dad, always miss him and love him forever. Uh, and then life happens, things happen to the car, things happen with donations being down or up, and all these different things. Uh, I've really been kind of into the dumps, and I know that if I didn't have my psychiatrist and therapist alongside of the medication, uh, that I don't know where I would be. And this is somebody who's 7 years into recovery, who by all appearances may look or listen and hear, they're like, oh, he's doing great, he's doing well, he's beat the mental health thing. No, the mental health, the mental illness, that doesn't end like one specific day. It continues. There are just some days, some experiences that are easier and some that are harder. And I've just gone through a really hard of a patch. I mean, I was sick. I was in bed for several days, and it was. I mean, nobody likes to be sick and kind of out of commission for a while, but I really don't. uh, I'm kind of a big baby when it comes to it, where I just kind of shut down and want to rest. And uh, so yeah, as we think of music, music is something that kind of really brought me back here lately, of just listening to some music while I'm doing some work, uh, thinking about a pretty big performance that we'll be doing at the end of April. That's so awesome, and blessed to be able to be a part of that, and we'll obviously be sharing that with you at the appropriate time, and we'll have, I'm sure, at least a couple episodes for you, as well as a bunch of other footage. So I'm really looking forward to that, and it's music related, so that really helped me think, like, oh, I'm gonna be playing music, and that as crazy, as simple as that may sound, it was able to kind of pull me out a little bit of, okay, things I talk about, well, maybe going through a rough patch, a rough experience, a rough traumatic time now, but that doesn't define us. It's a moment in time. And so I have to live that myself too. And it's not easy. It sounds like it's easy when I say it, when you hear me say it, when you watch me say it and share it, or read the blogs that we have for a ton of our episodes. But music really has been a huge part of my life, and as a human, again, as we talk about being in our mother's belly, and as we're growing, the music, the sound of the voice really emanates. That I remember to this day when my daughter was born, and the first time I got to hold her, I don't remember exactly what I was saying, but in that newbornness, meaning she wasn't able to comprehend, words and sentences, but I think she's able to comprehend and like tones and we were talking to her and reading to her when she was growing prior to her birth, so that when I held her for that first time and she heard my voice, even though she was a newborn, it was almost, I can just think of it like it was yesterday. And she just turned 6 last month, or 2 months ago now that we're in February. I was holding her, and again, I can't remember the exact words, but I remember I was holding her, I was speaking something, and her eyes just kind of like looked up, and the visions, as a newborn, not the greatest, and it's not the greatest for a lot of us. It's not, especially as we get older. But the way, like, her head, just in the slightest way, cocked up, it showed me that she knew that voice, even though she was just born minutes ago. She was able to, in that newborn child, she was able to recognize, again, it could have been the tone, I don't know exactly what, but to this day, she just tilted her head just a smidge. Again, she wasn't able to, being a newborn, tilt her head a lot, but it was one of those where she was laying and then she heard my voice, and it was just incredible. And it just reaffirms the importance of, here we are, voices for voices. Some of us were able to share our voice, we're able to share our stories. Some of us aren't. And so we try to share for others. And maybe that, because Voices for Voices wasn't an organization at that point, maybe that somehow was in my head when all this was getting kicked off. Anyways, it's just amazing to think about all that. Until next time, be a voice for you or somebody in need. Celebrate a voice in everyone. check out our merch shop. Give us a big thumbs up, like, subscribe, and we'll see you.